I'm Brandon Amoroso, and this is the D2Z podcast, building and growing your business from a Gen Z perspective. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in to D2Z, a podcast about using the Gen Z mindset to grow your business. I'm Gen Z entrepreneur Brandon Amoroso, founder and president of Retention as a Service Agency Electric, as well as the co-founder of Scaleless. And today I'm talking with Bob Verlaat, who's the co-founder at Here's in Door and Rose. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Brandon. Good to be here.
So before we dive into things here, can you give everybody just a quick background on yourself?
Yeah, sure. No problem. So my name is Bob. I'm 27 years old. I'm from the Netherlands, and I'm the co-founder of several DTC brands, under which, like you said, Door and Rose and Here's.
Well, can you explain just really briefly what both of those are?
Yeah, sure. So Door and Rose is the oldest brand. We've been running that for about 3 years now, and we specialize in silk bedding essentials. So we sell sleep masks, silk sheets, silk pillowcases, and basically all of those products have a focus on either better sleep or other benefits like better skin, better hair. And as of about 3 months ago, we launched our brand Here's Earplugs, completely different niche, completely different brand as well. And for that brand, we took about 2 years of R&D to develop a very special earplug with a special filter technology that makes you able to still hear music clearly and still have conversations in loud music. So that's a quick rundown of the two.
So as a multi-brand founder, I'm sure you've started and stopped on some products in the past, but how do you go about, identifying a new category that you want to enter and then, test it before you go all in and fully launch a brand?
Yeah, good question. We mainly look before we start a brand, we mainly look at products that are, first of all, problem solving. That's in the whole new D2C world. It's very beneficial to communicate a solution to a new solution to an existing problem. So we basically pick our products based on that. Can we really solve someone's problem or have a better solution, like I said? And secondly, it's also the features of the product itself. For an online business that you want to scale worldwide, we really focus on either, first of all, lightweight products with not too many variations, not too many sizes, products that are not too sensitive for returns. So yeah, we look at the few requirements for those products before actually making a brand of it. And the most important thing is as well, how can you distinguish your brand from what's already out there? So how can you really make a one-of-a-kind brand, so to say? So I hope that answers the question.
I mean, your point about the sort of simplicity of the product, in the US, when COVID hit, all these companies rushed to stand up their own Shopify storefronts. And my favorite example to use is the kombucha companies who have, a very heavy product. You have to refrigerate it, and it's a low cost or low revenue per item. And so, you're losing tons of money on every order. It just doesn't make sense. And so there's been a pretty big pullback from some of those types of companies, and they're only, selling on Amazon, or they've just gone all in on selling through grocery or selling through, last mile delivery, like Uber, etc.
That's a great example indeed. It's hard to ship or too heavy to ship. Your costs are gonna blow up especially when you want to ship further away than your home country, or so it's your margins will be not enough to scale and use your Facebook ads and use the right cost per acquisition. So that's go for it.
Well, when it comes to fulfillment, especially international fulfillment, how are you managing that? Because typically the brands that we work with, they're US based and then they're expanding internationally. Whereas in your case, you're sort of, the reverse. You're already international and then you're coming into the US and other markets. So how do you go about identifying the market, and then how do you actually handle the fulfillment component of it?
So like any other brand, we also started in one specific country and or at least a group of countries,
Mm.
the country that we were based in. So like for us, it started as well with the Benelux, Belgium, Netherlands, Luxembourg, to test out the market and see what it does. But quite quickly, we also realized that our brand was popular in many other places in the world, and there's not really uh, uh, you don't know beforehand what would be those countries. So we decided to make a big step and start shipping internationally right away. Also to I'm talking about donor rows now. So
Mm-hmm.
also to base your Facebook ad strategy and your Google ad strategy around that, running international ads and scaling international right away. And how we did that was by uh, having several fulfillment parties around the world. Um, some of them in Europe, some in the US as well, and some in Asia. So we also had our fulfillment in China to serve a big part of the world as well for all those brands. And from that point on, like once you scale your worldwide ads and like having your Shopify designed in a way, or your CRM system designed in a way that you can serve the whole world, you will quickly recognize which countries are the most beneficial and which countries or groups of people will demand your product the most. So you can directly pick from what are your target countries, so to say, and that's
You
how we did it.
you mentioned Facebook ads. How do you think about um, combating all these rising customer acquisition costs, especially, is there are there differences in particular markets, like you're seeing lower CPAs in one market than another, and that can help you sort of shift towards one area versus another?
Oh, for sure, yeah, and that's also why like targeting worldwide, for example, had its benefits for us, because we could compare the high CPAs compared to lower CPAs, and we can do a calculations to in what countries we were actually profitable or more profitable or less profitable, and base our decisions on that as well, like grouping specific countries that you are profitable, where demand is high, and um, where your brand performs best, CPA wise, like financially, but also in terms of demand. So yeah, that's a big part of it, to the whole scaling part.
Are you leveraging uh, the same team across all of your brands, or do you have specific people that are working on specific brands?
Partly actually. So uh, we do have managers that run more teams, but eventually, yeah, you're gonna need uh, teams to have their heads around one specific brand and to like live and breathe that specific brand and that product. And also, what you see, like especially for our brands, we have such a variety in brands itself. It requires also different kind of people to have affinity with the specific product and brand, because it's their day-to-day life as well. So for one, I have a sleepwear brand. That type of person will not be as committed to an earplug brand, so to say. Um, but a big part of it as well is like using the same SOPs, especially for example, the customer service team or media buying team, or yeah, they follow this similar SOPs and they can still learn from each other. We have everyone in one office here for all the different brands, so it's partly, I'd say.
Yeah, I feel like there's probably some, you know, collaboration opportunities or, shared learnings that can go across brands. But at the end of the day, somebody needs to live, breathe, and like own that particular brand versus being spread out, all over the place.
Exactly. Yeah, you said right.
The, the interesting thing to me around that is there are a couple of companies here in the US that have been rolling up a bunch of e-com companies to try and get some of those efficiencies, and it hasn't necessarily gone as well as they might have thought. And I think a lot of it goes to that because there isn't really that true, brand owner. And the product
Mhm.
categories and the types of products are so different, and the rising cost of customer acquisition as well too, especially for brands that might have a leaky bucket on the retention side. It just hasn't been, you know, like the 1 + 1 = 3 is not exactly how it panned out, at least at scale, with all of those different types of companies and brands, without those like brand champions or brand owners actually taking ownership of them.
Yeah, and it's also indeed like I said, it's also the people that work for it, right? It's not just the brand owners; it's the whole management team, and you know, the the everyone involved needs to live and breathe the brand. And if you're going to merge that among specific brands, like what's the people are making the brand, so it's yeah, not always beneficial to have combined tasks or combined teams or teams that
Yeah.
flow over in different brands. It's yeah, I believe that should be separate for when that can.
Are you pure e-com, or do you have any retail presence?
No, for both brands, we actually have a different type of B2B strategy. Door and Rose is sold in many different through many different retailers as well as department stores around the world, actually. While Here's, on the other hand, is more focused on like events. So we have stands or like pop-up shops on festivals or in clubs. We use vending machines in specific clubs. So nightclubs I'm talking about. So yeah, it's a different B2B strategy, but it requires to have a different B2B strategy for each brand, I suppose.
No, that's interesting how the distribution channels for B2B are so different. But I mean, it makes sense. Obviously, they're two separate product categories, but the vending machines is pretty neat. Being there at the time when it's needed versus if you're there and you don't have it, it's not like you're going to go on the internet and order it. It's too late. You
No,
need it in
exactly.
that
Yeah,
exact moment.
and that's the thing with the earplugs as well. It's really a product that you only realize you need it at the time of being. Like only very smart people buy them beforehand.
Yeah. I've been in places before and I see those people with them and I'm like, shit, I don't know what damage I'm doing to my hearing right now, but clearly it's something because otherwise they would not be wearing that.
You can be one of those people, Brandon. Here's.com.
I'm gonna fix that right after this podcast. Uh,
Well, I'll help you out. No worries.
there's actually an interesting company I ran into based out of San Diego a few years ago. I don't know if they're still around or not, but they were developing headphones with essentially like safety provisioning in place for children and really anyone because the volume at which we're putting sound through our ears through like AirPods. I'm getting this warning all the time from my iPhone to turn my volume down. Really does have long term ramifications around your
It
your
does.
hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, you hear everyone around it, but actually no one is actually doing something about it. Uh,
Yes.
no, it's a big problem that we're facing, and you only realize what the problem is until you actually suffer from the consequences. Um,
Hmm.
so that's yeah, it's good that these kind of companies arise and make well, first of all awareness for the product and also make it in some way or trying to make it popular. So yeah, I'm glad that there's more companies doing the kind of stuff.
Are there any other product categories that you're looking at right now, or are you solely focused on the two that you currently have?
Um, well, there's like I'm always looking for new products and always yeah, we're always looking into new markets and seeing opportunities everywhere. Obviously, especially when you're yeah, when you already uh, built a couple of brands and you see opportunities here and there. Um, but definitely your focus would be for a new product to also have like some sort of social aspect to it, as we're doing with Here's right now, or not just like selling a product, but also, of course, like I said, problem-solving product, but also doing something that's socially beneficial, like selling earplugs or that has some benefit to the public health whatsoever. But I think if we found that product, then we would have already started it. Um, so 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 we're just waiting for a new opportunity. But to be honest, our hands are pretty full right now. So it's also a good time to focus on what we're currently doing. But who knows?
Jumping back to sort of the actual business side of things, how did you go about, finding and growing your team? Were there any, sort of missteps that you took along that process? Any, learnings that you're taking with you as you continue to scale and grow your company?
Um, well, like a big part of growing your team and yeah, like making a good team is having the right. I mentioned it before, the right SOPs in place. If you have, especially for the junior positions, um, to us it's very important. We follow like very specific operating procedures to not like have the with many people in your company and especially with different brands, you're not looking at everything. I mean, you cannot micromanage. So having the right SOPs in place and having the right teams, right managers on actually practicing those SOPs and updating those SOPs and improving anything in their department. It's that's crucial to building a good team, I'd say, other than hiring the right people and hiring very talented people. Um, so yeah, that's I think the biggest part of actually scaling your team and making sure it scales well. And also, if you if you follow that and if you follow, make sure your SOPs are in place. I don't think you need a big team for anything. At least like not uh, hundreds of people for a specific brand, for an e-com brand, so to say.
Yeah, I think the SOPs are critical, while at the same time, I've worked at larger companies when I was doing like internships in high school, and sometimes it was SOP overkill in the sense
Yeah.
of, I couldn't even go to the bathroom without looking at the SOP, and it's it sort of will stifle any sort of innovation. And so, at least for the agency, tried to have had to have those SOPs, but at the same time, like stressing that just because it's the current SOP doesn't mean that there couldn't possibly be a better way to do it, and that these things aren't immutable. They can be changed and they can be improved.
Yeah, of
Uh,
course, and that's a big part of it to improve it and to keep optimizing it. Also, to do not have it too specific, as you were mentioning. So there stays a human aspect to it and a decision making aspect because then that's the side where you have talented people that are very good at their jobs to make those decisions.
are you a believer in having most things in house, or do you leverage a fair amount of agencies or outsource freelancers? Because I feel like there's a lot of people who are rather opinionated on that in different you know different ways.
It kind of depends on like the stage of where your company is as well as the area. Um, I'm, I'm, I'm in between. I utilize both. Utilize agencies, for example, or Google for Google Ads. We do use an agency just because I believe that a very big group of people that are in that specific agency are way better at doing what they're doing uh, compared to like any of the one or two people that I would hire for that position in for the same budget. Let's say, but obviously when our company is would grow and would be in a stage where we have the budgets to hire an in-house team. I believe it's also beneficial to have that if you have the the right amount of experience in house because those people will work on Google for our brand day to day, and they also live and breathe the brand instead of being just an agency. So yeah, just to wrap it up, like it's either a budgeting or the stage of where your company is in, or yeah, the specific department that you're hiring them for
Got it.
to making those decisions.
Yeah, the whole like brand side of things versus agency is something that I've heard a lot of people themselves decide which path they want to explore. Like, do you want to go work in house at a brand, or do you want to go work at an agency? And I think there's benefits to both, but with the agency, you can maybe go super deep within one particular area of expertise, but you're also managing against an SOW and deliverables. Whereas if you had somebody who's full time in house at a brand, everything that they're doing, and for us it was email and SMS, were capped at a certain amount of time and also deliverables for that brand. But if I was in house there, I would just be going wild with all of the different flows and tests and optimizations that could be turned on. But at the same time, maybe not getting some of those shared learnings and shared expertise from all the other clients that you're working across. So definitely pros and cons to both.
Yeah, for sure.
When it comes to the way that you're thinking about growth going into next year, are there any things that you're excited about that you think are untapped or are going to be able to be an area of opportunity or arbitrage for you?
Well, in terms of our brands, there's always like new and exciting things, new product launches, especially for the years, obviously, as we're a very new brand. So there's going to be a lot of new colorways, new type of products, new upselling products. So brand like for the brand itself, there's always something to be excited about. But more, I think your question is more in terms of like advertising strategies or marketing strategies. Um, as something that is really, especially when we're talking Gen Z brands, is very up and coming. Is showing the more like the content game is changing. We see more and more lifestyle oriented content. We see more and more authentic content being posted by the by different brands. And yeah, I'm also excited for that side of marketing, to show more and to show a more organic side of marketing instead of just expensive campaign shoots and all that. So I see that current change happening in new D2C brands, and yeah, I'm excited to be part of that.
Are you leveraging AI at all in your content creation? Like, I know Shopify released an AI editor tool for photography, and then there's obviously a whole bunch of other solutions that are coming out with AI for either copywriting, creative things like that. Are you leveraging any of those?
Yeah, we do. For many of the people in their office, English is, for example, not their like me, not our mother tongue. So for copywriting, it's used quite a lot, as well as voiceovers for advertising. If you go to doorandrose.com right now, you see a homepage banner of a girl laying on the rocks near the beach, and there's a big wave splashing behind her.
Mm-hmm.
That's the wave is made with AI. So yeah, we do uh, leverage AI where we can, and we always say to our team as well, like use it as an assistant rather than rely on it, or just something to upgrade your your own work.
Yeah, I'm looking at that picture now, and I would have had no idea that it was AI.
Yeah, it is. The girl is real though.
Yeah, that's cool. I think, it's just making things more efficient for brands. There still has to be people in place to be able to leverage, the AI tools, but, you know, as opposed to having to invest all this money in the content creation, maybe you can invest just, half of that and then spend more time, around strategy or creatively thinking about how to, go about testing the creative or thinking of new campaigns and things like that. A lot less manual work that's going into
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we use
marketing.
it for too, as well. Like having it think with us in terms of new campaigns, or um, yeah, it's your assistant, so utilize it.
Is SMS, getting adopted at all internationally in the same way that it is within the U.S.?
Well, to be honest, we just started using SMS marketing in the US because our database was big enough for Dornrose to actually start using it. I, I I don't think it's as um, useful in the other countries, or at least not in Europe, because of regulations. I think it's something that needs to evolve a bit more, or not. I don't know. So yeah, so it's for me, SMS marketing is very unfamiliar terrain still. I don't have too much experience in that part, just because we just started with it in the US. So yeah.
When it comes to your like tech stack around your Shopify storefront, are you in the consolidation camp, or do you like to go with best in class tools and then have those all integrate with one another?
Well, it depends what you classify under which. Um, like what we do use is we use Slack most as our communication platform. We have everything based in Asana, our task management system, and yeah, everything is pretty linked up with each other. So we try to automate where we can, if that's your question.
Yeah. There's definitely been a trend within the e-commerce apps over the last like 2 years to going wider with their product capabilities versus deeper. And you see that with the email tools adding on SMS, or subscription tools adding on other components. Or if you look at some of the really large companies like Yapo, they now have like 5 different products that are underneath their platform. Um, and I think things will continue to head that way, especially as the market gets a little bit saturated. There's like 11,000 Shopify apps or something like that at this point, which I don't think there needs to be 11,000 Shopify apps.
No, no, like it's also something we like. We're in a pretty good community of other e-com entrepreneurs, and we talk a lot with friends, like business friends, and um, yeah, you always hear from each other what are the tools to use, and what's the preferred method, and it's also what fits your business, I think.
Yeah, word of mouth marketing. Well, I got one final question for you. If there was one tip that you'd give to anybody who is starting a brand, what would it be? And then, one tip to anybody who's already actively running a brand, what would it be?
Or to someone starting a brand, I'd say, like, first of all, pick something problem solving. That's done the job for me specifically. And I'm going to be cliche on this one. Do something you're actually passionate about, because it requires a lot of work. Um, it's things are not coming easy, so be ready uh, to be happy to work on it. And someone who's already in business, and someone who's already yeah, I don't know, depends on who I'm talking to, really. Um, but I'd say, like, if you're someone who is selling a product, um, a physical product, go ship worldwide, and because that's also something major. That's also been something major for us, and don't stay in just one specific target market, like your own country.
Mm-hmm. Well, I appreciate you taking the time and re-recording this for the third time at this point. But we made it. No internet issues, no power outages. So thank you. But before we hop off here, can you let folks know where they can find your two businesses online?
Yeah, sure. So the earplugs are to be found on hears.com, and all the bedding products that I was talking about are on door and rose.com. So see you
On,
there.
on for the here's.com domain, did you already have that or did you have to buy it? Because I know those, those 4 or 5 letter domains can be pretty hard to come by.
Yeah, well, it's not cheap, but yeah, we acquired it recently.
Okay.
We first went by getheres.com, and now it's as of recently we got heres.com.
There was a startup in the US that raised like $2.5 million and then immediately went and bought a domain for $1.7 million. And
It's not,
I mean, they're financing it. But I mean, I'm assuming yours was not that crazy, but
no,
it's just fascinating to me that, there's still so much value in these domains.
Yeah, it's a one-off, but it's not that important, especially for starting brands. Like you can go with anything. Your domain name isn't that important. It shows some authority, but that's it, right?
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for coming on. For everybody listening, as always, this is Brandon Amoroso. You can find me at brandonamoroso.com, and we will see you next time.